Hello again, welcome back. The Democratic Republic of Congo has been plagued by conflict since it gained independence from Belgium in 1960. In 1965, the head of the army, General Mobutu, seized power in a military coup. His rule was ended in the First Congo War in 1997, led by Laurent Nkunda. A year later, the Second Congo War began, involving several other African nations, including Uganda and Rwanda. In 2001, Kabila was assassinated and his son Joseph took over. He brokered a peace deal with Rwanda and Uganda, and UN peacekeepers arrived in April. In 2006, the country held its first elections since independence, but conflict has never been far from the surface, with rebels led by General Nkunda vowing to overthrow the government. Well, let's rejoin our guests now. In New York, Bruno Lukabu; in Washington, D.C., Delphina Schrank; and in London, William Gumede. Bruno, if I can come to you first. There's been talk of more troops being sent to reinforce the peacekeepers who are already there. What do you think? Will that help matters?
I don't know if it's helped, really. Right now, the UN has a lot of troops in the area to protect the civilians. But it looks like Nkunda has a very strong army, and he's marching to toward Goma.
But there's 17,000 UN peacekeepers, and Nkunda's got less than 5,000 men. So why aren't they able to control that advance?
Well, that's the question I ask myself. Maybe because Nkunda is too strong and he cannot be strong by himself. I guess someone else is helping him. Nkunda right now has even tanks. Where is he getting tanks to attack Congo? Those tanks are coming from somewhere. And right now we think Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, is behind this movement. He is denying it, but he is behind it. Where is Nkunda getting all of these tanks and all these military equipment to attack Congo?
OK, William, obviously the feeling is that Rwanda is involved in this. We know that there's going to be a summit, hopefully, with the Congolese president and the Rwandan president. As Bruno's pointed out, General Nkunda is pretty strong. Should they not be talking to him as well?
Absolutely, they should have talked. I mean, he should be part of this, talking process. If he's going to be excluded, whatever solution that will come out of there, it's not going to be working. I mean, depressingly, on the one hand, the African Union right now, as it is weakest point. I mean, this is also, I guess, why this, why this rebellion is now happening, because so far in the past, the peace process has been held together by the African Union support, and because the African Union is now leaderless, you have Kagame of Rwanda supporting the rebels and so on. So that's one sad part of it. But what now the West will have to put some pressure on Kagame, because Kagame has been he's been supported in the West. He's the point man of the US and also of Britain. So they have leverage over him, to step out of this process, because I think he is, he is one of the problems here that needs to be dealt with.
OK, more pressure from the West. Delphina, do you think the West see DR Congo as a priority?
I don't think so. I mean, it depends on the country. There isn't, I think, particular international consensus from the West.
Well, we've seen the British and the French foreign ministers in the region.
Yes,
but actually, in the great scheme of things, how important is it for the West to have stability in that area?
Well, it is very important in the sense that this is a region that's extremely volatile. America has, I think, very strong interests in Uganda and in Rwanda, and Congo was colonized by the Belgians. It has very strong ties to the Francophone countries. So it's very important in that sense, because Congo has been subjected to a war that involved at least 8 countries on its border. It's hugely important from that perspective. But in terms of the history of Western involvement there, America hasn't been so interested in Congo. I mean, it falls low on the list of priorities in African countries. I think now the recent blow-up has.
OK. Bruno, I know that you're head of a group promoting Congolese solidarity. Should the Congolese government be engaging with the rebels? Why are they refusing?
I think they have been engaging the rebels to some extent. The problem is really someone has to sit down, Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, and tell him to stop arming General Nkunda to attack Congo.
But who? Who should sit down?
Well, we said earlier, looks like the international community is not really interested in helping Congo. Right now, Nkunda Batware and Paul Kagame, they are flexing their army military muscles in this part of the country, while here in USA we are going through one of the most important election in generations, and America is busy with their elections. They have no time to pay attention to what is happening in this part of the country.
William, can I jump in there and ask William what you think? Because Bruno's saying that more should be done. Delphina's saying that it is a commitment. What do you think? Is the political will there in the international community to try and resolve this situation?
I think the first thing is, there is massive interest, economic interest in the Congo, from the West. I would disagree with anybody who says, otherwise. So there is a real there should be the potential, to get some kind of a solution there. But the solution remains, I think, because the African Union right now is weak. Unfortunately, we'll have to go to the process where the UN gets involved, and we also will have to get the West, at least, because the West has some leverage over Paul Kagame of Rwanda. If you can just imagine,
do you
more
think
than
a peaceful
30 to 40%. Yeah.
Is a peaceful solution a possibility, or do you think this might escalate into a military solution?
I think there is the possibilities for a peaceful solution, just because Paul Kagame, who is very, very, crucial in supporting the rebels, that, he's so, dependent on the West, just in terms of if you just make a case of the budget of Rwanda, more than 40% of it is supported by outside, by the West. So there's immediate leverage that the West have on him. And if we can get Joseph Kabila also to sit down with the rebels, and I think also, the West also have some leverage over Kabila also to sit down with the rebels, and for Kagame to leave out of it, and also at least for those other African Union countries who can, to also be involved in terms of humanitarian support, also to try to get peacekeeping troops there.
Delphina, I just want to talk to you a little bit about what people in the country think. I mean, do they see this as a situation where their country is being exploited for its mineral resources, but they're sort of left to get on with their own problems? I mean, what are they saying about what needs to be done?
They don't necessarily see this as a conflict that involves multiple outside parties. They see this as an internecine conflict, a civil war within the country. There is a very strong perception of Rwanda's involvement and Rwanda's backing of Nkunda's forces, which Rwanda has denied. But so there is deep resentment that the mineral resources are being exploited, but in part that they're being exploited by these predatory militias within the country. Where they go, the perception is again that they go to Rwanda and that Rwanda is profiting and that the rest of the world is profiting. But there's really, I got a very strong sense of people very autocritical towards what's going on, towards their own government, the first democratically elected government in 40 years. So there's a really strong questioning within the country about what needs to be done, and that they really need to root out corruption, and
do they see an end to it? Do they see the government taking responsibility and helping them?
Yes, I think there is a strong sense that is what needs to be done. That they need first of all to root out corruption. They need to strengthen the national army. There's a very, very strong perception, and I saw much evidence of this, and we've seen it in recent days, of the national army itself is not a really strong defense force. It's not able to protect its population, which is why you have a huge variety of militias called Mai militias that are for local defense in this area of the country. It's really because there's a vacuum of rule of law, there's a complete impunity, And we've been seeing this in recent days with the army freely looting, deserting at the first instance of Nkunda's forces moving in. And Nkunda's forces are understood to be more disciplined, but there are far fewer of them. And I just want to correct something I heard earlier. Yes, there are 17,000 UN peacekeepers in the country, but actually very few of them are deployed. It's only about 5,000 that are deployed in this particular region of the country. The rest are deployed around the country. So they are actually overstretched. They're sort of between a rock and a hard place. So there aren't actually that many of them.
Well, like you, we all wait to see how this situation plays out. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. My guests, Bruno Lukabu, New York, Delphina Schrank, Washington, D.C., and William Gumede in London. And thank you for joining me, Shuli Ghosh, on this edition of Inside Story. You can email us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Until next time, bye-bye.